Bills, Broncos, AFC Divisional Round. We're going to go game by game, video by video. Next 4 videos, going to be breaking down each game. What does each team have to do in order to win this game? Because the Broncos, many people refer to them as one of the most fraudulent number 1 seeds to be out there. Maybe you have the Tennessee Titans a couple years back. This is going to be an interesting playoffs, but you can never count out Josh Allen and the Bills. And to start right at injuries, I think that's going to be really important because the Bills just lost 2 of their top receivers in Gabe Davis to IR in an ACL tear, Tyrell Shavers as well with an ACL tear. However, 2 players could be coming back, and we still don't know because they've been limited participants. Coming off IR, it's a question to, okay, can they play? But then how much are they going to play first week back off injury? Ed Oliver dealing with a bicep, Curtis Samuel dealing with an elbow. So those are 2 key players that can definitely play huge roles. The Bills have not had a good run defense since Ed Oliver has left. Curtis Samuel, now they need him now more than ever. You got Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, and I really don't know who else. Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is the other guy. Because you have Joshua Palmer's out, Gabe Davis, Tyrell Shavers. So their receiving core is depleted. So again, I don't really think it matters because Josh Allen can probably throw it to Christian Wilkerson as the wide receiver they just signed on the practice squad. But this is a crazy game because for the Broncos, you also have players coming back. For the Broncos, this is pretty huge. Dre Greenlaw off a hamstring. Defensive lineman John Franklin Myers. They have both been cleared to play in Saturday's divisional round. So that is huge. Lucas Kroll is out. Drew Sanders, linebacker as well. But again, I don't think that's going to play big factors. It's just for the Broncos defense, as great as it is right now, you're looking at the injury report, you're getting 2 kind of studs back. I know Dre Greenlaw's kind of had multiple injuries in the past, but John Franklin Myers, former Jet, definitely can be a game wrecker up on the front. As for the Bills injury report, it's very interesting. Jordan Poyer is out. Josh Allen obviously is going to play, but finger, knee, foot, very banged up. Again, he's going to play. He's Josh Allen. He's going to figure it out. Terrell Bernard, somebody who didn't play last week. Again, we're not sure. Maxwell Harrison, out. There's a lot of question marks for this team. Ed Oliver on IR. DeMar Hamlin on IR. Looks to be coming back as a full participant. So, again, there's a lot of crazy things going on with the Bills. But as far as some props, some things you can look forward to, let's take a flashback to last week because you look at the fact that, it might be a little bit interesting to me. I'm still going to put it up there. Last week we went pretty good. I didn't actually make a video, specifically, but we did pretty well on game picks. 15-21, just to run through them really quick. You could pause the screen if you want. I'm just kind of going to scroll through it. We missed on every touchdown alive. Niners-Eagles game, I'm going to avoid the Kittle one. I think 4-4 is pretty solid. Barkley had his carries. Saquon had his yards. Purdy hit over his yards. Goddard. This Patriots-Chargers game, I really thought it was going to be higher scoring. Touchdowns, just not good. Steelers-Texans, right on the mark with everything. So in order to look at that, I think there's definitely room for error, but there's also a good possibility that we can replicate this number from last week in terms of the wild card round. So looking at that, let's get into the first real kind of breakdown of how this matchup's going to play out. Now with just the injuries affecting everything, but also the game scripts of how things are going to look. I know I just showed you a recap of all the Sunday/Monday games, but here's just to have the recap. Pretty sure, yeah. So Sunday, 12-17, kind of just put the picks together. But yeah, I actually picked that, okay? I know 70% can seem misleading. I promise I'm not lying. Those are actual real picks that I made last week because, I want to look correct when I make these decisions. Obviously, you're not a fortune teller as much as I want to be. But divisional round, let's get to it. Bills, Broncos. For the moment of truth. Things to look out for. The Bills' offense revolves around Josh Allen. We know this. He's going to run the football. But the biggest thing, obviously, I mentioned it, the wide receivers. He does not have any crazy, great, big-name wide receivers to throw the football to. Not that he needs them. Josh Allen has been dealing with it his whole career. Only real big name he had was Stephon Diggs. Now you got Khalil Shakir to throw the ball to. We're going to pretend that Curtis Samuel is not coming back. If he does, that does impact the game. But again, how much is Samuel going to play first week back off IR? I'm not too sure. But yeah, I think if you're going to look at anybody, Khalil Shakir is the number one guy. He had 12 catches last week. He played really good football. 12 catches, 82 yards. Only had 6.8 yards per catch. But again, you're looking at the fact that he caught 12 of his 12 targets. That's 42% of Josh Allen's completions. If you're looking at his target percentage, that's 34% of his target share. So if Curtis Samuel does not play, Khalil Shakir is the guy. Because when you look at the Broncos defense, the biggest thing that you kind of exploit is their slot game. You have number one corners in Pat Surtain, but again, looking at these game log against, the biggest number, sorry I'm scrolling fast here, but just to look at the big numbers for the wide receivers category. Hang on, let me get down there. So this is the most recent in terms of week 18. Parker Washington torched them up, 6 catches, 145 yards. I think this will actually be a little bit better. No, you guys can't see it. Okay. So this is probably the best you got. Jacoby Myers, 4 for 45. Jaden Reed, 5 for 55. Deebo Samuel, 5 for 64. And I'm just kind of looking at slot receivers. Low kind of target share, 161, 3 for 25. Again, to me, the Broncos, they've done a decent job with wide receivers. And if we go ahead and look back at the defense of the Denver Broncos, again, solid in the pass, 187 yards, really good rush defense. Only one better is Jacksonville. Now, however, the Bills are going to want to run the football. James Cook's yards are around like 77. I don't want to take that just because of how Jacksonville shut the run down for Buffalo. Denver can very well do the same thing. If Denver stops the run, they stop the Bills' offense. Now, that might be not true considering you look at the fact that the Bills scored 27 points last week. So that's a big, big number. Bills defense, the number one thing to get around the Bills defense, run the football. They are 28 on the ground in terms of how that's given up. If Ed Oliver plays, it's going to probably be a little bit more beneficial to the fact that he is a game wrecker. Even against the Ravens game week 1, he caused the fumble on Derrick Henry. He's going to make game-changing plays. I don't care if he's coming off injured. It's just a matter of how many snaps is he going to play to be able to affect the game. So that's where I look at RJ Harvey on the opposing side for the Denver Broncos. Against the Jaguars, I don't know why they didn't run it more, but ETN, 10 carries, 67 yards, 6.7 yards a carry. That's really good. Again, if Denver knows what they got to do to win this game, it's keep Josh Allen off the field, keep the Bills from working the clock, and learn how to lean on the run. Run the ball. I don't care if the Broncos don't have the best run game. RJ Harvey needs to get at least 15 carries in this game for the Broncos to be able to want to pull away with this game. So as for the Bills, they have to do what they do. Continue their offense with Joe Brady. Long, sustainable drives. Keep Denver's offense off the field. And that's what the Bills have always been doing. That's how they've been successful. And if the Broncos offense is going to stall out, like we've seen at certain times this season, you cannot be down in the fourth quarter like you were against the Giants and miraculously pull a comeback. You can't do that against this Buffalo Bills team. So looking at the Broncos, stay ahead, stay dominant in your defense, but also lean on the run and know what you need to do to get away with this offense. Because if you try and pass against the number one Bills offense in all of football, you are going to fail. It's not a matter of how great the Bills secondary is. It's a matter of how they are schemed. Leslie Frazier loves to run a lot of zone, loves to drop back into coverage, loves to play that game. If that's how they're going to play, make them stack the box. RJ Harvey's not an elite runner of the football. I love RJ Harvey, UCF grad, but looking at what he's done, again, doesn't scream Derrick Henry, doesn't scream even a Travis Etienne caliber, but he can break off long runs. He is a speedy, quick running back out of the backfield. But Broncos need to lean on the run. If we look at RJ Harvey's stats, he's had 7 starts since J.K. Dobbins has went down, who's also been back at practice limited, but long shot to play this Saturday. 14 carries, 46 yards for Harvey, 3.34 yards a carry is not the best numbers in the 7 games as a starter with nobody else around him. Granted, my prediction, 15 carries, 67 yards. It's mainly because the Bills' defense is not that good. So I'm expecting the Broncos to lean on the run in order to win this game. I said the same thing last week for Jacksonville. I know I don't have any credibility to actually say that, considering I didn't actually make a video on it. I kind of just wrote it down. But yeah, I mean, as for that's going to really sound bad, but as for how this game is going to break down, it's going to come down to, can the Bills beat the Broncos defense sustainably in consistent drives, because that's what Josh Allen needs to do. If you keep Josh Allen in this football game, he's going to win. I'm not picking a winner just because it's really a coin flip of a game. I think on paper the Broncos have the better team to win this game, but I would not be surprised at all if you let Josh Allen in this game and then he just kind of bounces over and just does his thing. So again, in order to beat the Bills, run the football. Run it again, run it 5 times over until you are proven that you can't run the football. If you can't run the football in the first 2 drives of the game, okay, then maybe you can pivot. But the Jaguars had the first touchdown drive for the Jaguars, they scored They ran the ball down the field. Bayshall Tootin had 3 back-to-back-to-back carries for over 10-plus yards. That is insane. So, again, if you can have a sustained run against Buffalo, R.J. Harvey's the man, and Khalil Shakir is the man for Buffalo. Again, here's the props for the game. Khalil Shakir should get over 50-plus yards. It's pretty self-explanatory in my eyes. It's really the only target on Buffalo. However, if you're looking at Brandon Cooks, I think that's another weird line to where he's only at 3 catches, and it's plus money. So that's a line that I'm interested in. I think I'm going to keep it to 4 for the game. If you want me to pick one, I do like the Cooks. I like it a lot because 5 targets last game. You're down Shavers, who played 50% of snaps. You're down Gabe Davis, who also took a matter of snaps. And then Dalton Kincaid's also been questionable all week. If we're going to go ahead and look at the snaps for the Denver Broncos, not the Broncos, the Bills, because that's where the 2 receivers that got hurt. The Bills wide receiver snaps. You have, again, Keon Coleman played 43% of snaps in Week 19. Shavers, 54%, played through an ACL tear. Davis, 40%. So 40% of snaps, 54% of snaps for 2 wide receivers is out there. You are literally starting 3 wide receivers this game if you are out of Curtis Samuel. You have Shakir, Coleman, Cooks. Samuel maybe if he's back. And then obviously the practice squad wide receiver they just got. Brandon Cooks had 48% of snaps. He's only going to get more snaps. He still had 5 targets last week. They're developing a relationship. I love that. R.J. Harvey, I really do believe, I know the Broncos can't run the football. I showed you R.J. Harvey's stats. It's nothing impressive. And looking at whoever set the line for Harvey, it's definitely going to be right on the money. 13 carries, 50 yards is what he normally gets. And the Broncos are not a run-heavy football team. They're going to try and get it to Courtland Sutton. They're going to try and go for their one-on-one matchups. But in order to beat the Bills' defense, which is why I have Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims listed on here, I know they don't play much. If you look at the snap percentage of the Broncos, they kind of just split carries. They kind of just split time at the slot position. Broncos. If we're looking at wide receiver, Troy Franklin, 42% of snaps, Week 18. Yes, Broncos played their starters, but even the last 2 weeks, 38 and 42. That is not something that you're really looking for if you're looking for one guy to beat the Bills' defense. It's probably going to be in the slot. It's not going to be vertical with Courtland Sutton. I mean, it can be, but it's going to be very difficult to do that. We all know Courtland Sutton's ability to be a jump ball wide receiver, to catch the ball in double coverage, but it's just unlikely with how the Bills play defense in their 2-high shell. They're always going to have 2 high safeties. They're always going to shadow the number 1 wide receiver. It's going to be hard to go vertical on this team ever. So that's where I look at the slot. 42% of snaps for Troy Franklin, 32% of snaps for Marvin Mims. So there's not a lot of room for error there, or more or less, there's not a lot of opportunity in terms of catches, in terms of how many players are going to get yards. But I would look for those 2 guys to be involved and potentially get touchdowns. I didn't actually write touchdowns down because I know probably nobody wants to hear touchdowns considering what I did last week. I think I went 1 for 7. Horrible. That is one thing I will hold myself to a higher standard of. Touchdowns are hard to call. Probably should have said Etienne. Probably should have said Allen. I mean, those are pretty obvious. But if we're looking at this game, I don't think there's going to be a lot of touchdown scores. That's the biggest thing. This is an over-under of 46 points. And if we're looking at the Texans game, that's what I'm expecting this to be. Real quick, I'll pull up the score of that game. Texans beat the Bills 23-19, but my point is I think Josh Allen's going to struggle. The only difference between Houston and Denver's defense is the fact that Denver is probably a little bit worse in terms of their pass defense is what I wrote down. If we're going to look at Denver's defense, again, 7th in the pass. It's not terrible, but in terms of how Houston's doing, again, they're probably much better against the pass, not as great against the run. But that's kind of better for the Bills' offensive attack. If you're attacking the Bills' offense as the Broncos' defense, stop the run. And the Broncos are the second best defense against the run. You look at Jacksonville, absolutely shut down James Cook last week. If you can stop James Cook, you can stop this Bills offense because all Joe Brady wants to do is run it down your throat. Run it. And if Josh Allen has to revert to the pass, Shakir's going to be a huge option in this game. 8 catches and 110 against Houston, but that's the best I can compare the Denver defense to is Houston, and Houston is probably a better defense than Denver, which is why a 23-19 score, I think the Bills can easily win on a last-second field goal. The fact that the Bills opened as favorites in this game, and then the line flipped to now the Broncos are 1.5-point favorites, favorites. That's very interesting. So as for a winner, I'm not going to pick a winner. I'm not going to touch the James Cook line. I just stay away from that. I do not like it. The 4 things I picked are like what I like, and then the other 3 sneaky things that probably all 7 potentially can happen. Again, whatever you prefer, 20 yards. Again, Mims and Franklin, I'm kind of staying away mainly because the fact that it is just so risky to actually find any of those things. However, 15 minutes have gone by. That has been the Bills recap. I have construction outside of my house if you can't really hear what's going on. If you can, apologies, but thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Mike Zanetti in the Big Z Breakdown. Comment your thoughts in the description, in the comments. I've been going a little too long, but thank you all. Appreciate everyone. Let me know your thoughts about this game, and we'll see you in the next episode.